was thinking about someone I used to know. My cousin, the Queen, in fact. A tyrant. I tried to stop her, but things don't always go according to plan. She cast me out to a forgotten island, and made short work of my allies too. Lucky for me, I was able to commandeer a ship, and began a new life for myself, out on the high seas. Aye, but I hear that the Queen is at it again, and there's something darker behind her madcap schemes this time. If I don't stop her, I don't know who will.
Oh, don't stare. How would you look after eons in some ghastly crypt? Your people are rather prone to death. Mine are not. Yet when I emerged from my completely unjustified imprisonment, I found them gone. Our culture forgotten. Any trace of the world I knew all but obliterated. I must even hide my true face beneath an ever-shifting mask for fear you savages will attack me. That is how I wander this strange world, trying to uncover the truth about a history you primitive people never even knew existed.
Once I was a crusader for the Divine Order. I pledged my life to Lucian the Divine. The war changed everything. He sent me to save the elves I grew up amongst. I arrived too late. Lucian ordered the use of death fog against the Black Ring, annihilating everyone I once knew in the process. Now I'm a mercenary killer, one of the infamous Lone Wolves. And my next target is none other than Lucian's own son.
Famed, of course, for my unique red skin and unparalleled skills as a general of the House of War, I, the Red Prince, was raised within the vast palaces of the fabled Forbidden City. I was destined to become the next emperor. But my ambitions suffered a bit of a setback when I fell from grace for cavorting with demons. Now, I'm exiled and hunted by assassins. But I assure you, I remain undaunted and as determined as ever to claim my rightful throne.
I used to be a slave, kept under the thumb of the master, the bastard that made me hunt down my own kin. How did he do that, you ask? With the living scar you see on my cheek, this horror that takes no more than a song sung by Master Dearest to control my very thoughts. But now the tables have turned. I broke my shackles, and when I finally find him, I will make the master sing a very different kind of song.
all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared, and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
So it wasn't a dream after all. Not a very chatty fellow, are you?
In fact, they seemed quite averse to spending. Associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with the others.
Ah, you're up. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself.
No known associates.
Fair.
In fact,
not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash.
fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with the others.
Ah, you're up. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. Fair. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those source spells of yours? See what happens.
Currents of magic surge inside you, boiling, bursting, then breaking, only to fade back into your soul like rain into the earth.
My, look at the concentration on your face. All will, but no result. There you have it, see? The collar's function. It neuters you, of sorts. Makes you unable to cast source. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
Gods! There's been a murder here.
A young magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass. Behind the magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them.
Did the murder...
Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. Aren't you enterprising? I'll let Waters tell you no herself. Go ahead. She with the body.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of...
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do that, there wouldn't be a Magister. It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. And the rest, well, you see the evidence in front of you. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that?
Oh my, these smelling salts are strong stuff.
Not in here, it isn't. You let me know if you hear anything. Whoever did this is dangerous. Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here? Yes, this is a rare kind of magic. I'll need to write to headquarters right away. Did the murderer take him into this room?
Ah, where did I leave my calipers?
Nothing to see here.
A no doesn't become a yes over time, you know.
It was one of them. I know it. Put a knuckle in it. I'm trying to concentrate. They don't find us. We're like cattle to them. I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on. One of us will get our own. Keep us on one on one. Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up? You think me mad?
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a barrel. They sound like the dry cackling of an old witch.
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like.
She shakes her head.
Game for one, I'm afraid. Rolling dice. Deciding fates. Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past in flesh. One of the perks of being an elf, you see. I'm quite good at it, too. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. As everyone lay sleeping, you lay awake thinking of someone back home. A very special someone. You were reminiscing about the things you used to do together.
She pats you on the shoulder consolingly.
There, don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell.
The woman keeps rolling her dice. She pays you no further notice.
That has the Magister's more concerned than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly
A
don't know
broad
the
dwarf
first
sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, boy. Do you hear that?
I ain't saying nothing. Bloody dwarves, I'll come back to you, and you better be ready to talk here.
Sing it's a song, I know you can. That's enough.
His eyes snap open. He looks at you and frowns.
Murder? Ah, that's what they were going on and on about. I wouldn't know anything about it. I kill a man. He knows who done it. His daddy knows who done it. And the mayor knows who done it too.
His eyes flutter shut, and he assumes his position of repose once more.
Whether they catch me is another matter, but I ain't one to hide my accomplishments. The ship, of course.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And?
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty.
Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that.
Never thought you'd end up in prison, young
That right. I always knew
Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There. You heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, boy. Good news. It's the wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east. Burn my beard. That means if we've been travelling for, yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
Your kind always come closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
We've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang right over the side of this ship with him.
Captain, actually. And that figure tells me we're getting close to the Joy. Close to what lies beyond it, too.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes roll over to you.
That'll be all. Thank you kindly, boy.
I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was given.
Unacceptable.
He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
You one of them? A divine order loyal? They killed a sorcerer, you know. They'll hide the evidence well enough, but make no mistake. It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Well, well, what have we here? A fresh face in this stale hell. Let's size you up, shall we? See if you'll do.
The lizard looks you up and down, like a farmer would a fetching horse. All of a sudden, he grips you firmly by the chin, with the intent of inspecting your teeth.
I'm inspecting your teeth, in case that wasn't spectacularly obvious. There's some discoloration, but I've seen worse. After all, one can't expect to find prime merchandise on a squalid little ship like this. Now then, to business. You will answer me 3 questions. The first one is this. Can you cook?
One of us will kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
Mad?
Ah, music to my beleaguered stomach. On to the second question. Can you knit, weave? In short, tailor?
Tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Yes, I can tell from your vagabond chic, a bag is as good as a shirt kind of style. I shouldn't be getting my hopes up. On then to my final query. Have you the ability to administer the upkeep of one's personal appearance? The delicate art of cosmetics is what I'm after.
We've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
Just as I thought. That explains what's besieging my nostrils. So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. Let's evaluate, shall we? As per your own testimony, you can cook, but you have the fashion sense of a monkey in a clown suit, and your personal hygiene reminds one of a carcass rotting in the sun. That won't do at all, see? I'm sad to say I must deny you the opportunity to be my slave. Ever so sorry.
Mad? Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet.
I know, but you just don't have what it takes. A good slave's made of sterner stuff, I'm afraid. Still, hone your skills, and one day you may just qualify for a position in a lesser household than mine. You keep dreaming, you hear?
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us would kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
And we just...
I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tubers, too.
Insufferable, surely.
Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very wall. The indignity.
Quiet long enough for me to listen.
Who we are, what we've done, they mean less than nothing as long as these collars choke us.
You sure about that?
No!
What's your name?
No!
Gods, didn't your mother teach you any manners?
She got eaten by a void woken.
Name? Well, you aren't here on my list. Scram, eh? We're trying to catch a killer here.
Ah, there you are. Husband.
Would you please tell this very charming gaggle of not-at-all brat-like babes that I am by no accounts this Losa woman, nor do I sing, in fact. I'm deathly allergical. How very correct you are, spouse of mine. Madame Josephine Gribbles de Peeb refuses to be confused with anyone else. What? What's so funny?
Her pinched face cracks into a great grin, and she shoos the children away from her with a laugh.
Yeah, okay, you found me out. Go on and git, and maybe I'll sing you something when I'm good and ready.
She turns to you, dark-eyed and dirty-haired, and smiles flatly.
Gotta keep ourselves entertained, haven't we?
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knocker. Carrying on.
You presume right.
One of us will kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
We just skipped to the part where I reassure you and you shut up.
You think me mad?
Nope. Trying not to find anything out either. Ignorance is bliss. The utterer, the better. Thanks, but I already belong to an elite and exclusive ship gang. We play ball every day after lunch. You're too soft for it. You take care, though.
Suddenly, her eyes cloud to an unnatural black. Greyish veins run down her face, and her mouth tightens into a cruel sneer. As quickly as they came, the clouds clear. She smiles as though no change came over her.
Good luck, Chief.
I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom. Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face, he stares across at the Magister guarding him. Noticing you, he straightens and beckons for you to come closer.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this tramp Ifan.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again. He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winks.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And now, you.
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many moons ago. Isn't that right, Vic?
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger across his throat in an elaborate fashion, but says nothing. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the Joy. Away from interested parties. No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who's staring back at him with pointed intensity.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough. The Joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the Ringmaster himself. Easy now. I might think the same, but Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
What are you conspiring about over there? You! What's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee is me.
Name?
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny notebook. He scowls at you as he stows the notebook back in his voluminous robes.
Away with you, at once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
Soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hand you right over the side of this ship with it.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure
The
you?
elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and takes your hand, turning it this way and that, examining it from every angle. Finally, he pinches your skin, gently tugging at it.
Fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was given.
Ah, yes. The niceties. My name is Fane. I am a scholar from... well, I am a seeker of knowledge. That is enough. It is pleasurable to meet you.
Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than more appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me.
Is there? Wherever do you keep it? Certainly not in your books. I have been reading this one for several minutes, and I have yet to find a single insight into the mysteries of the universe. It is simultaneously too detailed and insufficient. I know the beginning of this tale and the end, but I am rather missing the middle. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history?
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own.
Oh, please. I have no interest in that. Your books are too full of it already. No, I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they created all creatures, but nothing of what came before. Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind? Of course you don't have any useful information. Why did I expect anything else? Now please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
No amount of pestering will get the elf to take his eyes off his book or respond to your questions.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
It's a register, sir. Good, good. Magister Williams is just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far?
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen horse dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
He tugs the collar of his uniform and chuckles.
Sorry you're upset, sir, but we all wear what we wear for a reason. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
Really don't know the first thing about sauce.
The hatch is blocked. I need to find another way.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part
Keep
where I
those
reassure
bubbles
you
trained
to
on her.
shut up?
And if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
You seem on edge, officer.
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened?
The young woman lies in a heap on the floor. She's breathing normally, but her eyes are wide open, like those of a corpse. Dark, greyish-black clouds swirl through them. She doesn't stir. The dwarf lies in a heap on the floor, his great beard twisted and tangled around him. He is stock still. You can't see if he's living or dead. You hear a faint thud, thud, thud. He's alive, but only just.
Oh! What happened? Must have been the turnips. You dare strike a royal? Ooh!
The lizard's eyes close as he slips into unconsciousness. Ifan lies motionless, curled on the ground like an animal. Under his shaggy hair, you can see green eyes fluttering as if in a nightmare. A low whine escapes his lips. His eyes flicker open, but he doesn't register your presence at all.
Lucen. Lucen.
Ifan cries out, then his eyes fall closed again. No matter how much you shake him now, he cannot be roused.
No, not the final dark. Not yet.
It's no use. Your words do not seem to reach her.
The dice roll darkly. They're rolling for me.
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound.
Not long before this thing snaps into splinters! That doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards!
Bishop Alexander. If Lucian were alive, what would he think of his son's divine order?
Thank the gods! By divine grace, what was...
He eyes the collar circling your neck and reaches a hand towards his blade.
Another sorcerer!
The Magister's companion doesn't blink, frozen in place at the sight of you.
Like you don't know? Mutiny! Did that witch fix your collar too?
He whispers loudly to the other Magister.
Don't just cower there, Rix! Take out your blood!
Rix grabs his sword, which shakes in the rhythm of his trembling hand. The Magisters look to each other.
Your lies end here! Get him!
God damn it! Need to get off this wreck and quick!
Suddenly face to face with an undead. His skull is bizarrely angular, and a glorious jewel sits in the middle of his forehead. The skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia, muttering to himself.
No, no, no! What damn fools record knowledge on a pulped tree? It catches fire, it turns into must when wet, it cannot even resist acid! No wonder they're so bloody ignorant.
The skeleton looks up and notices you for the first time.
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such?
The skeleton groans and looks back to his book, frantically flipping from page to page.
Yes, indeed. It's the look of someone that wants to read the bloody book he's holding. Now, if you're really quite finished, I believe you have lifeboats to flee to. Please, I was no more an elf than you are those rags you're wearing. I had a mask, rather ingeniously designed, which allowed me to take that primitive form. A mask that was stolen by that damned witch after her little scene. Still, she'll drown with the rest of these fools, and I will simply pluck my mask from her cold, dead hands. Indeed. Just as sensible as getting off a sinking ship and leaving a fellow to his business. I would say good day, but it seems quite likely that you're about to die a rather terrible death, so...
The skeleton shrugs casually and returns to his book. Was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You don't recognize the symbol, but it's clearly warning you away. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The color drains from your hand, and you are left numb. It doesn't budge. The door groans open, but an ashen shadow clouds your mind.
Get out of here! No! Get out of here! No! I need to get out of here! Now!
means there's still a chance.
I'm fool! You do it!
Shut your trap, kid! Children and dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes to no avail.
You said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Thank you! There's a ladder right over there. You can go straight down.
You're gonna be the death of us, you hear? That's what you big brains, didn't you?
You should never leave someone behind.
big mouth, didn't you?
You should never leave someone behind.
If you could walk, get yourself off the battlefield. Wait! Void Woken!
I thought Void Woken was supposed to be scary.
I've faced worse.
They who are about to triumph.
Let the games begin.
These beardless bugs won't sink the ship on my watch. Worms take.
This old tub is about to burst.
Deadly. Let's head above decks for some air.
something. It's Magister Siwan, the one who put on this damn collar. Sounds like she needs help.
She tries to speak, but can only gape as she clutches her neck, trying to stem the bleeding of a gushing wound. With jagged movements, she raises her clenched fist and holds out a length of cloth soaked with some kind of strong-smelling tincture. Blood quickly soaks through the cloth. Magister Siwan's mouth opens and closes, her eyes wide in terror. It's working. The pressure is stemming the flow of blood. Siwan clutches your arm, her eyes locked with yours. Something within the ship snaps. The floorboards shudder. Siwan struggles to her feet, clinging to you tightly. The ship lets out a deep groan, then cracks.
This is it! She's going down!
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Honorable Dallas, we lost a ship sailing sorcerer prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity, High Judge Oriven.
Those Voidwoken made short bloody work of the ship. Am I the lone survivor? This must be Fort Joy. I thought the Order would get rid of any trace of the old Source King.
The child has a small mirror in his hands. He holds it up at angles, inspecting his eyes, his chin, the crown of his head. He spots you, and his arms snap to his sides.
I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. Why? I guess. Well, the people who put me here are human, and the people who took my parents away are human too. Or do you mean because I'm a... Are you a sorcerer? One of those guys that brings the bad void things here?
The child looks at you straight on, unafraid, searching your face. He lifts his mirror to his nose, closes one eye, and looks at himself again.
I don't see any source on you or me. I guess they're wrong or crazy. No one cares where I go. They know I can't leave the island. It's nicer out here than inside anyway. They're gone now. The Magisters took them already. I guess now they're cured. And maybe they're waiting for me back at home. But you didn't die. I guess I am, but it's just normal to be scared. Nowhere isn't scary. There isn't anywhere safer. That's what I mean. You'll see.
Voidwoken. Those are the same beasts that sank our ship. Damn, they've made it to shore.
I know you.
bloody collars were supposed to keep those things at bay. Drowned and eaten by a voidwoken. I wonder in which order.
You spot a strange lizard gazing over the water with a steady, malcontent stare. His skin is of a bright, blood-red colour. Could he be... Yes, you recognise him from the ship. It would seem you're not the only one who survived the tentacles of the deep. The lizard turns about with the graceful ease of a dancer, or a duelist. You lock eyes with his, two smouldering embers that sizzle your very soul.
I did survive, yes.
And chances are I wouldn't have, had you not returned to the aid of your fellow passengers down in that dreadful hold. You have my gratitude.
Hand over heart, he salutes you with a bob of the head. More than a nod, though less than a bow.
Yes, I'm sure you've all the makings of a hero and all that, but let's not get carried away, shall we? Now then, if there's nothing further... I'm sure I don't mean to sound condescending, but I had thought it quite self-evident I was gazing out over the waves.
He sighs dramatically.
Tell me, what do you see when you cast your glance over this ocean? Touché.
He looks out over the water once more, and so do you. A few tranquil moments pass as the waves lap against your thoughts.
As for myself, when I consider this vast expanse before us, I see an empire. I see continents dotted with mighty cities, and shimmering along the soft curve of the sea's horizon, I picture the palaces that formed my paradise. Lost. What do you mean, what do I mean? I mean just what I say. I had a very actual empire that I lost.
Suddenly, having all the air of being deeply offended, he stares at you with utter incredulity.
Well, don't just stand there gawking like an ape at an abacus. Or do you really mean to tell me you don't know who I am? Oh, may the seven have mercy on their own creation. I am the Red Prince, the All-Conqueror, the World-Tamer, the spouse of the sun. Of course you know me.
There's a brief moment's pause, during which his grandiloquent pose deflates ever so slightly.
That said, I suppose I must own up to the fact that I find myself rather in between all-conquering and world-taming opportunities at the moment. The grandeur that is my fate has hit a bit of a snag. But never you worry. For the throne I was destined, and my throne I shall have. Truly. A kind offer indeed. And you've already proven to be trustworthy enough. You came back for the others on that ship, after all. Fine, I accept. On one condition. For reasons I'll not disclose right now, it is imperative that I should meet with a dreamer, one of the mystics of my kind. I've reason to believe one of them may be present on this island. Promise me we'll look for him, and I'll extend you the blessing of my company. Jolly good. So, now that that's settled, first things first. Even if you are as versed in the art of eloquence as I am, that our swords will be doing a lot of the talking from here on out, it goes without saying. As a born fighter, I prefer the perfection of the blade myself, but I'm well acquainted with the secrets of magic and, yes, even subterfuge. What say you? Very well. Onwards then to victory or death.
The Red Prince nods and gives you a smile that wavers ever so delicately between courtesy and contempt.
Now, as you're aware, you'll be travelling with a prince. Proper forms of address include Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, or if you're feeling particularly frivolous, Milord. As your luck would have it, I seem to be fresh out of luggage, so you won't be required to carry my belongings. Of course, there are other forms of protocol to bear in mind, but I'll see to it you'll pick up the rest as we go. So, without further ado, let us be off. Quite right. Do seek my counsel. I highly recommend it. I intend to rule an empire one day, not a tiny outcropping in the sea, lording over gulls and guppy fish. To that end, I suggest we focus on the obvious. A farewell to Fort Joy and a hello to the mainland. There isn't much to say, but for the fact that I simply must. It's the portent of it all. I can feel it. The revelation will be world-changing. I just know it. And justified it is too. You'll be a witness to wonders, I assure you. As certain as the sun, such is my conviction. I will be, then grow beyond being. As am I. A prince should die of old age or on the battlefield. Anything else could be construed as weakness of character. That said, I've the distinct feeling I wasn't meant to die today, for despite your heroics, I was still cast into the water. I sank. I drowned. But there was something in the water. A voice made of air that soothed my flooding lungs. There was sudden light, warmth, life. Truly, how intriguing. To hear a voice whilst drowning is a rather specific delusion to share, is it not? Still, I wonder if...
He hesitates.
Are you a religious person? I'm rather relieved to hear it. Religious persons tend to be all too self-important in their supposed humility. As for myself, I perform the ancient rites of prayer and ceremony with a kind of languid indulgence. After all, when one is revered by many as a living god oneself, public deprecation would be needlessly self-important as well, wouldn't you say? There was a small incident which prompted my many rivals to move against me. Technically, they had the letter of the law on their side. Such a nuisance, the law. Quite necessary to keep the common in line, of course, but one such as myself it should exempt as a matter of course. What I meant was that, being authority, I shouldn't be under any thumb. I had thought that was perfectly obvious. Sadly, that enlightened point of view quite clearly turned out to be academic. If not, we wouldn't be having this very conversation. I hardly know you as yet. Let's leave some mystery in the relationship, shall we? We can exchange criminal records later. Black cat. A herald of wisdom in my homeland. How fortuitous.
The cat's eyes are clouded and grey, but it stares at you with acute intensity. Its eyes clear, and it shakes its head, confused.
spotted something. I need to dig here.
One must put in due effort if one is to reap the proper reward.